Low back pain is no joke. If you suffer from low back pain or a weak back, these 5 exercises are really gonna help you make a difference. We're gonna start with glute bridges. Now I'm gonna time these for 60 seconds. That way I can talk rather than counting. But I'm gonna recommend you do these for about 20 to 25 reps for each one, doing 3 sets. We're gonna do one together. We're gonna start with glute bridges. The setup for glute bridges is almost like a sit-up position. Your feet are gonna be planted. Your feet are gonna be about hip width, maybe a little bit wider. Now, you don't want them too close to your butt that you're cramped, but not so far away that you feel like you're, really struggling to get up. So you wanna put your feet where they're just able to get flat comfortably. I like to think chest up to the ceiling as I get my shoulders flat, pressing my belly button into the ground. And when I go to lift, I'm gonna think belly button into the ground, and then I'll lift up my legs, and then I'll get my hips up as high as I possibly can. So again, it's gonna be belly button down, then the hips up, thinking knees apart, and really pushing through my heels to get as high as I possibly can. And we're gonna start now. We're gonna go for, like I said, 20 to 25. I'm gonna time myself for about 60 seconds, talking as I go through. When you're pressing, you can even lift up those toes to get a little bit more engagement. If you at any point feel this in your lower back, make sure you think posterior pelvic tilt. What that means is tucking the tailbone under like a scared dog as you lift up, and you want to go right before you feel that pain, but you can still feel those glutes really engaging. So I'm going up, doing a very slight pause at the peak, and coming down nice and slow. And as you're coming down, you'll make sure you try to really think about keeping the butt squeezed. And by doing that, you can think turn those knees out and keep the heels dug into the ground. We got about 20 seconds left. Like I said, you can be counting these. You can also weight these with a dumbbell or a plate. And you can put a band around your thighs as well. Going up to the top, thinking belly button down and hips over. The reason we're doing this is because it's going to strengthen the glutes. Oftentimes when we have low back pain, it can be from weakness in the hips or the lower abs. And then also posture as well, but we need to strengthen something if we're gonna have good posture. So that's gonna address the glutes, which can be a weakness relating to having some low back pain. The next one we're gonna do are called wall dead bugs. So these first 3 are gonna be down on the ground. The second 2 are gonna be standing up. For the wall dead bug, you're gonna be up against the wall, arms are gonna be slightly bent as you push into the wall, and you're gonna kick out one leg at a time. Being mindful about the tailbone being tucked under. So I'm gonna go to the wall like this, I'm pushing into the wall behind me, and slightly pressing like I'm trying to get my hands to slide up to the ceiling. So by doing that action, it's gonna drive my shoulders down into the ground, helping my belly button stay pressed into the ground, making the back stay flat. Again, allowing the lower abs to work, but not having the low back take tension. This is gonna strengthen those lower abs and the hip flexors, other areas that can tend to be weak whenever there's low back pain. So I'm gonna go up with the legs, 90-degree angle on the hips and the legs, pushing up and into the wall, kicking my legs out, and only go as far as you're able to while keeping the belly button pressed into the floor. If you're doing this and you start feeling the lower back lift up, then you've gone too far. You don't have to lift your head. I'm just doing that so you can hear me through the camera. But I'm kicking out, going out as low as I can right before I hit the ground, and then back up. Constantly keeping that pressure in the wall, constantly being mindful that I'm pressing my belly button into the floor. Again, this is strengthening the lower abs, which is gonna help tuck the tailbone into a neutral position if we have anterior pelvic tilt or open scissor in our core. 20 seconds left. Pushing down or up into the wall. And if you feel any low back tension, it just means the belly button's gonna press into the floor even more. If the low back tension builds up too much, pause, breathe, and then back into position if you can. And done. The next one is gonna be side plank clams. If those exercises provided you value, click the like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, or share this with someone who you know who has low back pain. My name is Michael. I've been a coach for a decade now,
And this channel is going to be based around health and wellness so that you can live a long, happy life. Think longevity. I was going to add my hobbies and all that stuff on there too, so you can see how I work through that and skill stacking. I'm going to do that on another channel now. On to the next exercise. So for these, I'm going to do the ones that are going to be on my elbow. We're going to keep the hip in the air as we go. Now, when you set up for the position, I like to have my elbow placed slightly closer to my hips rather than directly underneath the elbow, because once you press up, the shoulders are going to kind of come that way a little bit, and you don't want the arm to be way out there. So the setup is going to be having the feet, hips, and shoulders in line. There we go, exposing my legs. So feet, shoulders, hips in line if I were to look straight down. My knees are going to press into the floor as I pick my hips up, and I'm going to push my shoulder down into the ground, trying to keep my torso as sideways as possible. This is going to activate those obliques, again, parts of the abs that are going to help support the core, so the low back is being able to keep from being jarred or twisting in ways we don't want to. I can tell I'm a little spread out, so I'm going to stick my butt back a little bit more. So back up like this, and we're going to lift the top knee up. As we lift that top knee up, timer started by the way. As we lift that top knee up, you want to make sure those hips stay level. You can do whatever you want with this hand, honestly. Just, try to keep those hips as squared as possible. So belly button facing sideways the entire time. It's going to be tempting to lift that leg and twist like this, or to not lift the leg as high as you can. So you want to lift until you feel you hit that wall. Obviously, I need to stretch my hips a little more. Keeping the head neutral. You're also going to work your neck here too. Neck tightness as you're doing this is not a bad thing. It's just strengthening those neck muscles. So same thing as with those glute bridges, slight pause at the top and then down. So slight pause and then down. Trying to keep pushing tall through those shoulders, keeping square in the hips. You want to also think neutral spine in this position as well. If you feel anything in the low back, think tuck the tailbone under like a scared dog. Or another way to think about that is bringing the pelvis up into the ribs. And pause. And we are going to the other side. So, same exact setup. I think I'm in screen. You're gonna have your butt in line with your shoulders and your hips, shoulders and your feet. Elbow slightly towards the hips, picking the hips up in the air. And then you're gonna start opening up the leg. You can also do this banded as well with the band on the thighs. Can't really weight this one. I mean, you could if you have ankle weights and you put them on your thighs too, but bands work really well. So keep lifting that leg out, thinking tailbone tucked just enough to keep a neutral spine so the core is engaged, squared with the hips, pushing up tall through the shoulder, thinking long neck, making sure we're not shrugging those shoulders as we go. Again, this is going to work the glutes, the gluteus medius as well, along with the gluteus maximus, so that way it helps support the lower back. Oftentimes it's weakness in the hips when we have weak or pain in the low back. Not always, but this is going to help if this is what your situation is. About 10 more seconds. And slight pauses at the top to really make sure you're engaged. And again, you want to be counting these about 20 to 25. You can also do a minute like I have been too. And done.
As I was editing this, I realized I wanted to mention that this is so that your body can remember what muscles to turn on, whether you're standing in line shopping or sitting at your desk. If you feel any low back tension, your body's like, oh right, I worked those muscles before. I know which ones to turn on now. All right, on to the next stretch.
Next are gonna be standing, so I'm gonna change the camera angle a little bit. Next one we're gonna do is called a horse stance. It's also a sumo squat, static hold, but my parents were in martial arts, so I always knew it as a horse stance. You're gonna go wide feet. Feet are gonna be turned out only as wide as those knees are able to go. So I'm gonna get down into the position. We're gonna start now. So when I look down at my legs, what I'm looking for is making sure that my hips, knees, and feet are all facing the same direction. So if you can't quite get your legs out this high, I'm gonna come out just to show you this, or wide. So if your legs can only go this wide, then that's where you should be holding it. But the key is constantly making sure those knees are trying to go backwards to the wall behind you with the tailbone at a neutral spine. So my feet, I put about this wide, going down until my Knees are about over my ankles, roughly. Feet, knees, and hips are in line. So if I were to look down, I see a straight line there. And now I'm taking my knees and acting like I'm trying to touch the wall behind me. From here, I'm trying to think neutral spine. So I'm looking for that balance point when the balls of my feet and my heels are engaged fairly equally. Hands can be, out in front of you just like this. Anything to help keep the torso in line. You can have your arms out to the side, but key is to make sure that the tailbone is going, or the hips are going neutral. So you don't want to be curling under, but you definitely don't want to be flaring the butt out, because that's what we're trying to counteract. So by tucking the tail just in a little bit, or tucking the butt under just a little bit, you'll feel those glutes engage, especially as you're pushing those knees behind you. Just staying deep in that squat. I forget exactly when I started the timer. We're gonna go for about another 30 seconds. You should do this one for about 60 to 90 seconds. Usually I like to go 90 seconds on this one. If you do come out of it, go back in until you reach that full 90. If you hit the 90 total, then you just wanna try to go until your hips are about parallel to the knees. Well, either way you wanna do this, but you wanna really push the hips parallel, knees going back, and really emphasize the engagement and try to hold as long as you can. Shaking is good. Try and keep the neutral spine. Reason we're doing this, again, is to work the gluteus medius, the adductor, that's time there. Woo! Or sorry, abductor, part of the legs that helps open up. Glute max, and the lower core. With doing it in that range, it's also gonna help working the balance of the legs, trying to keep shifting side to side. But by doing it at a wide stance like that, it's really gonna help you force the engagement of the glutes. Now the last one we're gonna do is the only one that is weighted, but you can use anything for this. So I'm trying to do all body weight stuff right now, but this one is just, it's such a good one, I didn't wanna leave it out. So if you want, we can look at it as a bonus if you don't have weights. Do those for 3 to 4 sets, 20 to 25 reps, or a minute and a half for that horse stance. Next one is a kettlebell swap. Also careful walking on laminate floors with socks when you're trying to pick up a weight. Spammers. I almost slipped, by the way. Anyways, so this one is not only good for balance, it's good for the upper back and for the core for working the balance, the obliques and transverse abdominis. So now as I do this one, I'm gonna lift up one leg and I'm just gonna pass the kettlebell back and forth. Not gonna go too fast. If you're counting this one, 8 to 12, back and forth is 1. And as I do this, I'm just trying to make sure those hips stay neutral. So I'm not letting the hip drop like this. I'm also not popping it way up. I want to keep neutral as best as I can. Shoulders are staying back and down, so my chest is up. And thinking tuck my tail under, you should really feel the glute activate here. So by working the core in this manner, you're gonna also help the lower back be supported because we're working the flexion of the spine by keeping that core engaged. And also, it's gonna help with the side to side and rotational movement of our body. So if we ever do walk, funny, get into a weird position, this is the kind of move that's really gonna help us. Whoa. 10 more seconds. And ideally you focus on a point that's far out in front of you on the floor. That'll help you balance a little bit better. And we'll go back one more just because that's where I started, and done. Then we got 2 legs, so we're gonna go do the other one, lifting the leg up, checking that posture, and then swap. And now as I do this, I don't really want the elbows to come behind me. So as I'm swapping, I'm trying not to do this, because usually what happens there is those shoulders will roll forward. So I'm trying to keep the torso up and thinking kettlebell slightly in front of me. That way, constantly thinking about the posture in this position, just like that. Again, trying to keep those hips square, shoulders back and down, and just slowly back and forth. Whoa. And I believe that's done. Yeah, that was 35 seconds. Oh, it's supposed to do a minute. Just kidding. Not done yet. Just making sure you're breathing. And if this, I don't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, I was gonna do a plug, but I'll wait till the end for that. Again, if you're doing all these, I recommend doing 3 to 4 sets. We're doing the first one together. And done. If you're looking for a good stretch for the low back and those hips after this workout, click this video right here.